Amongst the landed gentry, the aristocracy, the burial place and the commemoration of the dead was very important, particularly from the genealogical point of view and the impression that it gave to others in terms of the rank, the seniority of the individuals concerned. In earlier times, the competition boiled down to who could be buried closest to the high altar, but burial within the church was eventually banned, although with great reluctance. There's an example of a local laird in Galston in Ayrshire attempting to bury his wife within the church in the middle of the night. The competition moved to who could build the most ostentatious, the most impressive structure for burial, usually repeated burial, within a vault. This meant the creation of mausoleums. Also, the position within the graveyard in which they're constructed was also of importance. With an increase in population and also in the wealth of the local lairds, a number of old kirks were abandoned and new churches built. Such was the influence of the lairds that often they took over parts of these old kirks and created their mausoleums, which in this case were often known as aisles. The Knockdolian Vault at St Colman's Church, Colmanell in South Ayrshire, shows a number of the typical features, in particular the well-carved coats of arms. Over the entrance is one to the Maccabees, and internally is one that seems to be to the Kennedys, another unidentified family. Certainly 2 lots of burials took place here, with the McConnells taking up all of one side. What was particularly important was the intermarriage. So it seems here, for instance, that the local family of the greatest influence, the Kennedys, intermarried with both the Maccabees and the McConnell families. Not needing to construct an actual building, more money could be spent on the monument itself. The most impressive example is the Skelmorlie Aisle in Largs, built to commemorate the family of Montgomerie from Skelmorlie Castle. Another would be the Bargany Aisle at Ballantrae, built to commemorate the murdered Gilbert Kennedy of Bargany, who died during a feud amongst the Kennedy family. And the final one would be the Glencairn Aisle in Comores, which is the burial place of the Cunningham family, originally of Comores and later of Finlaston. At the Glencairn Aisle, the mason responsible left the date, his name, and some of his details, as well as his mason's mark. At Daly, the mausoleum of the Fergusons of Kilkerran is so large that it dominates the churchyard and almost the church itself. At Saun, the Buchanan Mausoleum looks more like a house and seems to take its inspiration from the nearby Saun Castle. The Auchinleck Aisle contains the body of James Boswell, the famous biographer of Samuel Johnson. Also has a particularly magnificent coat of arms, which illustrates the links with the Montgomerie Cunningham family of Corsehill at Sturton. Many different architectural styles were adopted, such as Gothic, Greek, and Roman, exemplified by the example of the Weirs of Adamton at Monkton. Not all mausoleums were built by aristocrats. Macrae of Orangefield left Ayrshire penniless, made his fortune in India. When he returned, he was able to afford a dowry for his stepsister to the Earl of Glencairn, composed of £14,000 worth of diamonds. At Kirkmichael, there's some examples of local aristocrats who were not so wealthy. However, they had the influence to build their mausoleums onto the sides of the church, and they didn't even appear to have roofed the buildings, although usually they were secured, usually by a heavy metal door of some sort. The Loudon Aisle is the site of the burials of the Campbell family. One of the members of the family died abroad and had his hand removed and sent back to his wife. She had it interred with her when she died and was buried within the mausoleum. The Burns Mausoleum was built by a family who made their money through business. Their house, or their castle that stood above, was burnt down in the 1920s. The Montgomeries of Giffen were a cadet branch of the Montgomeries of Eglinton Castle, the Earls of Eglinton and Winton. The Brisbane Aisle at Largs is rather quaint. It seems almost as if they decided it wasn't worth competing because it stands right next to the most impressive in Ayrshire, the Skelmorlie Aisle. One of the smallest mausoleums must be that of the Crawfords of Jordanhill. Despite its small size, there are life-sized statues of the husband and wife lying inside. Old Ladykirk is perhaps unique. It has 3 separate mausoleums, 1 within and 2 attached. Dunlop is a highly unusual mausoleum. This was built for the local minister and his wife. He was a Hamilton, and his son became Viscount Clandeboy, hence the funding to build the structure. It was locally known as the Picture House because of the brightly painted interior.